Girls, and welcome back to yet another episode of Perth Podcasts, Athlete Things, Road to Junior Worlds 2024, Malta. Today, joining with me, I have Matt Genge from Canada. How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good, thanks for asking. So, Matt, it, how many weeks out are we?
I'm 2 weeks out today, actually.
Yeah, and I guess for the lighter lifters, it's almost 1 week out already. Time flies, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how did you qualify for Worlds? How did you punch a ticket to Malta?
So I can run over the qualification process for Worlds for the CPU this year.
Yeah,
It's a little bit different, and a lot of people probably don't know much about it, but it was so usually it's just a standard. We'll have nationals in February or whatever it is, and the qualification process will start from there. And whoever wins nationals goes to Worlds,
yeah,
whatever
pretty
category,
straightforward.
open, junior, master, whatever.
Yeah.
This year it was a little bit messed up, and what they did was they chose the world teams through regional events. So it was split up in Eastern, Western, or Central. And it doesn't matter where you are, you could compete at whatever you want. They just have one meet in each region. And I decided to do Easterns because it was in my hometown, actually. And
Oh,
so it just made the most sense. And it was the last one, actually. So I kind of had an idea of where I would have to be number-wise.
yeah.
Now, there was a couple of guys coming here that I was still going to have to beat, but it was just made the most sense. And so I went and I squat 312, benched 177, and I pulled 287. And that got me the world spot.
All right. So I guess it was pretty fortunate that it was in your hometown as well, right?
Yeah,
And the fact
I
that it
mean,
was happening the last out of the three.
yeah, it worked out really well, actually. Now, Westerns
Yeah.
was probably the biggest one.
Mm.
So I don't know. Sorry. I don't know what I would have done if it wasn't in my hometown and it wasn't the last one. I might have flew at West and competed there
Yeah.
just to kind of have the competition there. But there's still a few guys here that gave me a good run. So that was fun. But I'm looking forward to having it back to nationals. Just everyone going against each other at the same time.
Yeah, I guess it feels more fair, right? Like it's a level playing field.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
everyone could have came here if they wanted to, but I think nationals is the way to do it.
Yeah. So Matt, how old are you?
I'm 23, so this is my last year junior, unfortunately. And so I'm doing junior worlds, and then 4 weeks after that, I'm doing Commonwealth as well.
Commonwealths will be held at
That's in South
South
Africa.
Africa.
Yes.
Yeah. Will you be flying straight to South Africa or would you be flying back to Canada first?
I'm not. So after Worlds, I'm going to Portugal for a little bit, for a
All
week
right.
or so, and I'm still going to be training there, of course, because I'm
Yeah.
going to be 4 weeks out.
Yeah, it will be 4 weeks out. Yeah.
And then I'm flying home for a couple of weeks, and then I'm going again.
So it's Malta, Portugal, Canada, and back to South Africa.
Yeah. So it
Sounds
should
like
be
a
a
flight.
busy couple of weeks.
Yeah, it will be, but you'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah. So you've been working with Kelly for almost a year, and you've been also having your nutrition handled by Daisy for about half a year.
Yes.
How is it like working with those two ladies?
It's great. So I can start with Kelly, I guess. So I started working with Kelly because I've seen her videos on Instagram and just her kind of showing her knowledge through those videos. And it was on my mind for a while. And then when I decided to get a new coach, I had a call with her and Steven and a few other people. And I mean, her and Steven were just above and beyond the rest of them. And me and Kelly just kind of gelled together a little bit better than me and Steven, I think. And I'm
Yep.
sure Steven would have been awesome too. But yeah, so then I started working with her, and we had about an hour call at the beginning of our coaching, just discussing what I've been doing, what she thinks I should be doing different, and all that stuff. And then it worked really well. What we changed, my deadlift is my struggle, and we cut my deadlift volume, I'd say probably in half of what I was doing at the time. And immediately that started blowing up.
Less is more, right?
What's that?
Less is more.
Less is more, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess I was just kind of getting beat up and everything from the volume I was doing before. And volume actually works really well for me on squats. Like I do 6s and 7s, 9s, whatever on squats, and then deadlifts is just the regular top single, double, wherever we are at the point, and then usually back off 4s or 5s, and then that's it for deads for the week. And I guess I can go to Daisy now. So me and Daisy started working together in probably February.
Yep.
And she's been great. I mean, big thing with her is communication. We communicate a lot, just discussing where I am, where my weight's going. And we have fortnightly calls. So during that, we just discuss what's going on, where we can up calories, down calories, where my fatigue levels are at. And I mean, one of the main reasons I picked Daisy was because she can communicate with Kelly about how my nutrition's going and if I'm fatigued, vice versa. And it's just been working really, really well.
Yeah, I guess Perth has this holistic approach when it comes to training. Like we have our coaches, we have our nutritionists, our EPs even, like they take care. They take good care and they work like very well together with the coaches as well.
Yeah, it's been nice knowing that they can communicate.
Yeah. I think that's what gives Perth the edge over other systems in the world.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure if I had a nutritionist elsewhere, it would probably be good, but just not being able to communicate with Kelly like that I think it's just a huge benefit.
Yeah, it's possible, but it will definitely not be in the same magnitude as if it were Daisy and Kelly.
Right, for sure.
Yeah. So right before you started with Kelly, you also did a meet with at provincials, right?
Yes.
And how did that meet go?
It went okay. I think I totaled 728, something like that.
Yeah.
And so there was not a lot of pressure on me for that meet because I think there was only 2 105s, and I was going for best junior. I ended up getting that, but I didn't have the best day. I missed a squat and a deadlift, I believe.
Yeah.
So that I didn't really have much expectations for myself for that meet. I kind of just went into prep just enjoying it and knowing that there was no big goal to have. It was actually pretty nice. Now that since then there's always been something that I'm striving towards.
Yeah.
But yeah, that went okay, you could say. But
and I guess earlier you covered your Eastern's performance where you added almost 50 kilos after like starting with Kelly. And I guess in that meet you also had more pressure compared to provincials.
Yeah, so that was the most pressure I've had in a meet, I'd say.
Yeah.
And it was nice having that longer off season because I was doing a few meets a year. So I had from June 2023 to March 2024. So I was able to keep building my total then, and it was to the point where I think I was opening about where my thirds were.
Wow.
At provincial. So
yeah,
it was nice just focusing on getting healthy at the beginning of that prep and then kind of ramping up and being able to make that increase on my total.
Yeah. So, were there any takeaways from each meet, like for provincials and for Easterns?
Provincials, it was kind of, I knew where my comps were going to be going then, and that I kind of had to get more serious into this sport. Like I had to put everything into it, not just inside the gym, but my nutrition, my sleep, hydration, all that, accessories. And so for Easterns, I had all that dialed in. Everything was ready to go. I knew I was set up. I just had to execute. And then after that, I knew I just had to keep going just with what I was doing. I couldn't get off track anything. I mean, I knew I was going to Worlds at that point, so there was no messing around. I couldn't afford to.
That's great. And I guess it came true, right?
Yeah, everything worked out. So
Yeah, that's good. So, Matt, how long have you been powerlifting?
my first meet was 2021, December 2021. So, and then I started training probably 6 months before that, training like powerlifter, just doing. Do you know Calgary Barbell?
Yes.
So I did a couple of their free programs, and then it was actually a friend of mine that got me into powerlifting, and then I started doing that, and then I was like, oh, like this is pretty fun, and I could be okay at this. So I then went seeking a coach, and then it just kind of took off from there.
And 3 years later, you are stepping on the world stage in about a fortnight.
Yeah.
So, how does that feel?
It doesn't really feel real yet. I think till I get there, and then I'll be like, whoa, like this is a thing
The
now.
world. Yeah.
But I'm excited. A little bit of nerves, but should be good.
Yeah, it is your first international comp, right?
It is.
And yeah, like you mentioned earlier, like, do you feel like being up against the best in the world, does it fuel you, or do you feel that pressure even more as like each passing day?
I think there's a little bit to both sides there. I'd probably say
Yeah.
it fuels me more, like watching. Like I follow most of the 105s going to Worlds, and they're all looking very strong. So it kind of just fuels me more that I got to keep up, if not do more. Just kind of, even the ones that are above me, just close that gap a little bit,
Yeah.
just so they know that I'm there.
And like, I guess there being there also makes you want to push yourself to the limit.
Yeah, it does for sure. Like I think when I get there, I'll be pretty comfortable.
And I guess comparing your preps for Easterns and for Worlds, sorry, do you feel like you are training much harder, or is there a big difference between your preps for Easterns and Worlds?
Um, I mean, we didn't change. Do you mean programming wise or just like intent?
I guess programming intent, yeah, the fact that you're competing at a higher level this time. I guess your mindset also plays a part in this.
Yeah.
So just share with us.
Yeah. So programming, I guess we haven't changed a whole lot. Last prep, we were planning on running my squat into Worlds, and we got probably 3 weeks out, and I was like, okay, like we need to change something. I'm pretty fatigued right now. So we changed that, and we tapered my squat pretty hard there, and it ended up working. And this prep, we are running my squat into Worlds now. So we started this block off a little bit lighter. I think I took 260, 265 in week one. And last prep, it was probably 270.
Yep.
So we started a little bit later just so we can make sure we're running it in.
Yeah.
And the other two lifts haven't changed much. My deadlift tapered unbelievable last meet, so we're not changing anything there. And bench, we're kind of just running that into, tapering it off a little bit, but not much because bench is so easy to get detrained. Just keep it.
Yeah, for sure.
Intent-wise, I was pretty intentional with everything last prep, so I'm kind of just making sure that is all staying consistent. My nutrition, everything like that, just staying on, no slipping up. Mindset obviously is a little bit different. Just like you touched on, going against the best in the world, I kind of have to act like I'm one of the best in the world just to keep up and make a name for myself on the world stage.
And what about Easterns? Like, how was it like, I guess, with your mindset?
I knew that I could have won. The main guy I was going against at Easterns has beat me before at Nationals. So it was kind of like okay, he's beat me before. I kind of I can't let him just drag me around and just beat me whenever he wants. So I ended up having a lot of motivation going into that, just not knowing that it's for the world spot and that I could kind of get my revenge kind of thing.
Yeah, it feels personal almost.
Yeah, like he's a nice guy and everything, but it's just,
for sure.
I just don't want to let anyone think they can beat me whenever they want.
Yeah. So I guess it's kind of ironic because the guy you ended up really wanting to beat was also the guy who used to beat you. So I guess before going to Easterns, did it feel like you were going up against a person who like felt stronger than you because you have faced defeat by them before, or do you feel like it's something that you did mention that you knew you had a chance? So I guess you didn't really back down without a fight, right? So I guess you can tell me more about how you felt going up against him for the second time.
Yeah, so I've touched on this with a few of my training partners that even though I knew I was stronger going in, I knew I just had to execute and I'd be fine. But it is hard going against someone who's beat you before, just knowing that you've never beat them. It can play a little bit on the mind, but you just have to keep telling yourself that you can do it, and it worked out. So
That's good. So you've been talking about intent. You've been, I guess, training really hard for Worlds in 2 weeks. Have you ever gotten injured in any preps whatsoever?
I wouldn't specifically say injured. Like I haven't had any big injuries, knock on wood, but just little things like shoulder issues. I actually had a little bit of a knee issue this prep that I've been working with Josh a little bit just to fix that up, and it's actually been a lot better since then. So it's healing up at the right time, and I think we should be ready to push that. But nothing big, like no kind of big pops, tears, nothing like that.
That's not that's not pretty common, you know? Like
No, yeah.
I guess in majority of the powerlifters, like we know someone's dealing with something in very serious, like at least once in their life. But so far you've been doing a very good job. And I guess if there's one thing you could tell us, it would be how do you like take care of yourself and stay on top of recovery?
Yeah, so I do work a pretty labor intensive job. So I make sure just my sleep, my nutrition, hydration, everything is on outside of the gym, and inside the gym, just warm up smart, be smart with your primary lifts. Obviously your accessories, that's what's keeping you healthy. So you have to stay on top of those. Just even if you think they don't matter, they matter. So just stay on top of everything.
It's great. So if anyone listening in, yeah, you guys know what to do, man. So I guess you did touch about your knee injury with Josh. Would you like to share us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so I was this probably started, I'd say 8 weeks ago. And I was just having trouble, like even walking, it was painful.
Oh,
But
wow.
squats weren't as bad as
Okay.
like I was if I was down on my knees getting up, like it would be probably 8, 9 out of 10 pain at sometimes. And high bar squats really bothered it. So I hopped on a call with Josh. I can actually tell you what he said about it really quick. Just
Bring out the email, right?
bring out the email. So yeah, he kind of just said it was coming from my hip flexion.
Okay.
So I needed to improve my hip flexion, which we did with a couple exercises, and it was slowly getting better. It was slowly getting better. And then it got to a point where it got a little bit worse. And then we got on another call, did what we had to do again, and gave me a couple more exercises, and it worked out. And now there's days where I can still feel it, but its pain is very minimal at this point.
It's very good, man. And I guess was it the worst nature of injury you've dealt with so far in your career?
I would say probably that one, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess you were about 10 weeks out back then
Yes,
from
I
Worlds.
was pretty deep into prep.
Yeah,
So it kind of happened at a bad time, especially where I've never dealt with injuries, and it was
yeah,
playing a
must be
bit on my
scary.
mind. It was
Yeah.
like, am I going to be able to even compete? But I was just overthinking it at that point.
Mm. I guess being your first time, it's also normal for these thoughts to sort of come up because you never know what's going to happen. But I guess all's well that ends well, and you came out fine. And I guess what would you say that like what what have you learned from this experience?
Not to panic, I think, is the main thing. Just, I got good people around me, like coaching and training partners, and it's just don't panic. It's just going to make things worse. Just keep to the plan, I would say, and it all worked out.
Yeah. So once again, with 2 weeks out, what are you looking forward to the most at Worlds?
I would say there's a few things. So obviously the first one is proving that I can kind of perform on the world stage, not just regional and national and
Yeah.
local. I want to show people that I can lift a standard, just build a total on the world stage. And I'm excited to meet people where it's my first international meet. It should be fun to meet a lot of the lifters that you're seeing on Instagram and
Yeah.
that are so strong, just to actually see them in person and have a talk with them should be fun.
Yeah. Anyone at the top of your head?
Um, I would say I'm excited to meet Daisy because just where we've been working together so
Oh yeah.
long.
Yeah.
Um, other than that, probably there's a couple of the 105s like Heath Graham
Yeah.
and those guys. So I'm excited to have a chat with them.
Awesome. And now that it's coming in really close, well, I guess we're at the tail end of your prep. What are your goals for Worlds? And yeah, what are your goals for Worlds?
So I do have a couple numbers in mind. Like squat, it'd be nice to be in that 330 range. The world record is 335.5 right now. So
Yep.
if I'm really on that day, it could be worth taking a shot at. But where I'm doing Commonwealths 4 weeks after, that could be the better spot to kind of take a good stab at that. Where
Without
at
any pressure
Worlds,
as well.
yeah, where at
Yeah.
Worlds is kind of build your total kind of thing. Um, bench bench has been going good. My shoulder gives me a little bit of issues at times, but it's nothing I can't kind of fight through at this point. Number wise, probably 185, 187 maybe. Deadlift is kind of going to be around that 300 mark, but it's going to be whatever is a smart call at the time where there's so many of us close.
Yep.
So we'll see how that goes. But
Yeah,
strength
just
wise,
pull whatever you need to it.
What's that?
Just pull whatever you need, like to get the best total and placing, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess for you and also a few other lifters, because I know some lifters who are doing junior Europeans, and it's about a 5 week turnover. Whereas for you, it's slightly worse than that. It's only 4 weeks. So how have you and Kelly and Daisy worked around it so that you can stay on top of your training, ensure that you don't gain too much weight after the comp, and also just back to back preps? Like, how do you sort of deal with it?
Yeah, so I've never had a quick turnaround like this. The fastest turnaround I've ever had was probably 3 or 4 months. So
okay,
to have back-to-back turnarounds like this and both international competitions, it should be interesting. But I've had a talk with Kelly, and we have a plan just to kind of hop right back into training, take the first couple weeks light, and then kind of ramp up those last couple weeks, and hopefully be right back to where we were to before Worlds.
Yeah.
And with nutrition wise, with Daisy, we're kind of just gonna stick to the macros like right after the meet. Like usually after a meet, I'll take a week off tracking macros and just kind of do whatever I want, but we don't really have the time for it this time.
Yeah, we don't.
So just kind of keep that body weight in that 107, 108 range.
Yep.
If it gets up to 109, we can work with that too, but just not get too heavy.
Yeah. And for this comp, how do you plan on making weight?
I think we're just gonna do a little bit of a gut cut. Manipulate water a little bit, but like I said, I'm the lightest I've ever been for going into a meet. It should be no trouble.
Wanted to ask a question. Yeah. How do you plan to, I guess, manage your training and nutrition when like you're traveling a lot? Because you'll be flying to 4 different places.
Yeah, so for Worlds, I'm planning on taking a lot of my food.
Yep.
Daisy's going to be there a nice bit before I leave, so she said she'll let me know what's there and what I need to bring. But I think the main thing is just being prepared for anything, being prepared for grocery stores not to have what you need.
Yeah.
Just taking that with you and planning ahead of time. And I'll do the same thing for Commonwealth. So I'll take whatever I need and not depend on it having what I need.
All right. And this being your last, I guess, is Commonwealth's your last meet as a junior?
It will be, yeah.
And what are your plans after that?
So Nationals in Canada is in March. So I'm planning on competing there, as I'm not sure if I want to go 105 or 120 yet. I'm thinking I'll probably do it last year 105. There's still a couple things I want to do as a 105. And hopefully I can... What's that?
Such as?
The national squat record is going to be right there at that point, I think, if it doesn't get bumped up too much. Right now it's 340.
Is it by Matt as well?
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, the Matt? Yeah, okay.
So, the Nationals is coming up here a week after Junior Worlds. So where that could end up, I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll see, and we'll make the call from there. I think eventually I am going to go up to 120. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Are you pretty tall?
I'm 5'10".
5'10". What's that in centimeters?
I'm not sure.
All good. Wait,
But
let me do the math.
yeah, you
I
go
think
ahead.
it's I think it's about 175, 180
It could be.
centimeters.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
that's pretty tall. So yeah, I guess 120 would suit you, and I guess for long-term growth as well, it would be pretty beneficial.
Yeah, I think so. I think it would. I'd want to slowly get into it
Yeah,
and not just kind of do what some people do and just
bloat
jump
their
right up
way
to
up.
120 right away and not put on any muscle. Just get
Yeah.
120 body weight. But yeah, I'd like to do it smart. Obviously, work with Daisy during that, and yeah,
All right. So it was a really lovely chat. And before we end the episode, is there anything you want to say to our viewers?
I'd like to give a shout out to a lot of the guys at the gym,
All right.
just for keeping me going. Kelly, Daisy, my family, my girlfriend. Just thank you to everyone for supporting me. I got a really good system around me. So yeah, I'd just like to keep it going.
Yeah, it's really good that you have a good support system. I guess
Yeah,
it's
it
really
plays a really
underrated.
big part.
Yeah. All right. So that's all. And thank you so much for hopping on with me, Matt.
Of course, thank you for having me, Bobby.
All right. I'll see you guys in the next episode.